Dear students, today we are going to discuss a poem, An Elementary School Classroom in Slum. It is written by Stephen Spender. Actually, the poet Stephen Spender born in 1909 and died in 1995. He was an English poet, but he was very much interested in politics. So this poem, it is also one of his poems that the poet depicts here the conditions and miseries of the children who live in slums. यानी पोइट जो है, यहाँ पर पोइट उसकी जो ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट है वो पॉलिटिक्स के साथ है, सियासत के साथ है। तो यहाँ पर वो मसले, वो कंडीशंस, वो हालात उबारता है, उनकी अक्कासी करता है, उन बच्चों की अक्कासी करता है जो स्लम एरिया में रहती है। और यहाँ पर ये पोइम जो है, ये एन एलिमेंट्री स्कूल, एलिमेंट्री कहते हैं विच इज 5th प्राइमरी स्कूल, क्लासरूम। Here he depicts the classroom condition of an elementary school in a slum. So slum actually we can say slum means a dirty area. यानी एक dirty area होता है slum, where poor and destitute live. यानी जहां पर खस्ताहाल लोग, जिनका कोई जरिया नहीं होता है, जिनका कोई यानी जो बिल्कुल गरीब होते हैं, उनके उसको कहते हैं स्लम. सो द पॉइंट हियर फ्रॉम लाइन 1 to 15, let me read. Far from gusty waves these children's faces. Far from gusty waves. Gusty waves actually means strong waves. Far means far away from. It actually means that in the faces of these poor children, the children who live in slums, their faces are far away. That their faces are shown that they have not any kind of strong feeling. They have not there are not the energetic kind of thing in their phones, in their faces. Their faces seems expressionless. There is not any kind of hope on their faces. So he says, like rootless weeds, the hair torn around their pollen. So what he says that not only that these children, they seem in every corner, in every sphere of life, they seem what we say that they seem so much poor. They seem so much hopeless. Why? Because like rootless weeds, their hair torn around their collar. And he says that their hair, it was just like, pallor means here abnormal paleness of the body. यानी weeds कहते हैं wild plants, useless, यानी their faces looks like these pollen, abnormal paleness of the body. And then he says that they are here, it seems that they are the weeds. It was not in a good style. The tall girl with her weighed down head. And the poet here describes a girl. She was tall, but she was so much tall, but her this head, it was down because of poverty. And he says, the paper seeming boy. The paper seeming boy means the health condition of the boy was just like a paper. Paper here means actually thin and weak, like paper. And it means his body was very weak. So with rat's eye. And not only this, there was not any kind of expression in his eyes, and they are very narrow eyes. They are just like rat's eyes, small, terrified eyes. And the stunted, unlikely hair of twisted bones. The stunted कहते हैं not properly developed. The stunted, unlucky hair of twisted bones. And what he says that they seem, they are stunted. यानी यहाँ पर पॉइंट जो कह रहा है, the stunted unlikely hair of twisted bones reciting a father's gnarled disease. And their body condition, their health condition was so poor that they are looking like the old people, like their forefathers, like their fathers. Why? Because their gnarled disease means that there was their body, the structure of their body, it was their joints, they were swollen joints and rough skin, just like in old age. And it means that there was not any sign of youth, there was not any sign of feeling of hope, hopefulness in their eyes or in their body. And they are in every sphere of life, they are worst and worst. And then he says, at back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young. And he says the classroom, which the poet describes here, he says that there was one student, one child, he was very beautiful, but nobody noticed towards it. Why? Because the classroom was very dark, there was dim light in the classroom. His eyes live in a dream. But the poet said, his eyes live in a dream, and his eyes, they are shown, they are something, kind of a dream, and he dreamed something of scareless game in dream room other than this. And he says that he was wandering, he was in search, just like a squirrel searching on the tree. And same was the case to this this child, that he was not noticed in the only the poet noticed him that he was in a dim class room. So this is first stanza. Now the first stanza, in the first stanza of the poem, the poet, he says, what the poet says, that the poet says children sitting in the classroom of a school in a slum. He describes that the children who are sitting in a classroom in a slum area, he describes their sad and pathetic looks through moving word pictures. He says that the bloodless faces of these children, expressionless faces of these children. And as far from the strong waves or energetic waves or activity that are a mark of childhood, they were untidy, they were dirty, hair hanging around their, while the face looks like the rootless weeds. There is a tall girl with her head way down, a pale looking by sitting. Restless eyes look at those of the red. And then there is another boy who was so much weak that he was just like a paper. And then he says that it seems that he has inherited. That means it seems that he was from his forefathers, so his health condition was not good, he was not strong, his body structure was very weak. And then he is sitting at the, and then there was another child, he was sitting at the back, and nobody noticed it. No doubt that boy, he was very beautiful. And he says, and this boy, he was not noticing any lesson. And at the back of the class, there is a little sweet child. He has remained unnoticed because of the dim light of the classroom. He has a dreamy eyes. He is dreaming how squirrel play their games in their tree. And the little boy too dreams of such rooms for himself that would quite different from the one where he is sitting now. Now from 9 to 16, the poet says, on sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's heads, cloudless at dawn, civilized doom riding all cities, belted, flowery, Tyrol's valley. So he says that now on sour cream walls. Now first of all, the poet in from line 1 to 15, he from 1 to 9, he says that what was the condition of these what was the condition of the children. He describes here the children and how gloomy they were, how expressionless they were, how hopeless they were, and there were not any kind of powerful activity in them. And then he says the condition of the classroom. He says that our sour cream walls, donation, Shakespeare's heads, cloudless at dawn, civilized doom, riding all cities, belted flowery, Tyrol's valley, open-handed map, avoiding the world's first, its world. So he says that now the condition of the classroom was that from the walls there comes a bad smell. He says here, sour cream walls with bad smell. It means the condition of classroom was not good. The classroom was very dirty. And what was there? And he says that these conditions, they bear the names of those who have given the donation. और अब इन क्लासरूम में क्या है कि जिन्होंने इसको डोनेशन कहते हैं चैरिटी, यानी कुछ दिया था इनके लिए, और वहां पर किस के नाम थे. And he says that there were on these walls there are pictures of Shakespeare's, of the cloudless dawn, of a huge cathedral dome that is a symbol of civilization in all cities, and of the Australian Tyrol Valley with its bell-shaped flowers. तो क्या कहता है कि कुछ भी नहीं था, यानी बिल्कुल ये कमरा जो था बिल्कुल गंदा लगता था, और गंदगी, और सिर्फ क्या इसके दीवारों पर वो पिक्चर्स लगे हुए थे जिनकी डोनेशन से, जिनके मदद से ये स्कूल या ये क्लासरूम चल रहा था. And then he says these children and yet For there was also the map, the old one open-handed map, और एक मैप था जो बहुत बड़ा वर्ल्ड मैप था, और दूसरा क्या है, there is also big open map of the world that shown the world all those seas and lands that the world has, but for these poor children. Now he says, for those children, these windows, not this map, this world where all their future is painted with a fog. But these things, these things, these maps and these pictures and all these things, they are meaningless in front of the children. Why? Because their future, that was in fog, that was shaded because of the poverty, because of the attention of those people who had to attend them. So he says that their world, now he says that, but for these poor children, this world shown on the map is not their world. For them, their world is merely these windows of the classroom. And he says that the whole world in front of them was their classroom. And he says that where all their future painted with a fog, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky. तो क्या है कि वो कह रहे हैं कि और उनका फ्यूचर जो था वो क्यों बिल्कुल महदूद था, that was limited, and it was it was under dull grey sky and capped species of land staking in the sea. And he says that from here they can see their future is all foggy. It is only a narrow street that is sealed in with a dull sky. It is a world that is far from the open world of rivers and caps. It is a world that is far from the stars of words shown to them by all politicians. और अब वो क्या कहते हैं कि ये वर्ल्ड जो politicians के बहुत बड़े, यहाँ पर एक कह रहा है कि stars of word means tall promises made in them by politicians. और ये उससे भी यानी उसका दुनिया जो था यानी अब वो उनके पास नहीं था, बल्कि उनका दुनिया जो महदूद था वो उस आसमान यानी वो बादलों से ढका हुआ जो आसमान था उसी के नीचे था. Now again let me tell you about this, that and in the first line 1 to 9 the poet says, the poet actually here depicts the condition, the miseries, the hopelessness of the children who live in slums. And here the poet describes a classroom situation where these children who live in slum were taught. And he says that there was not any kind of energetic activity, any kind of good expression, any kind of expression of hope on their faces. Their faces looked like expressionless, dull faces. And he says that and then the poet he describes some of the children there, and one he says that there was a tall girl and her head was bowed down, and then he says that there was a boy, he was so weak, just like a paper, and it was the conditions of this. And then he says that and also there was also a child which was not noticed in the class. He was at the back of this class, but the class, it was a dim class, it was a dim light there, and he was in a dream how this squirrel, she was searching on the tree, and he was also searching his future in his dreams. So this is the first thing which he says, and the first stanza of this poem, the poet describes the condition, miseries, hopelessness of the children who live in slums and taught in a school that is in slum area, and the condition of the classroom. So in the second stanza of the poem, the poet says that the condition of the classroom, it was very bad. It was not good. Why? Because he says from the walls there comes a bad smell, a sour smell. He says here that means bad smell. Why? Because there were only the pictures which these walls. These walls. He says that. Source walls, donation, they bear the pictures of what? The Shakespeare's pictures, which was donated. And they donate, these people donate them something, and the churches and other valleys. And he says that there was nothing, and yet for these children, but he says, but for these children, they are meaningless. These pictures, these churches, these world maps and other things, because he says that world, not this map, their world where all their futures painted with a fog. He says, but they are these people, these children, they are in such a world where their future was in dark. They have not any kind of future. They seem hopeless in this narrow street sealed with lead, and they live in such a narrow street where in such a limited area where their future life was totally, absolutely in darkness, and also they were promised by the politicians, high tall promises made to them by politicians, but that was far away from those children who live in these whose future were in dark. Thank you very much.